Thank you for staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and as I had promised you earlier on while we were beginning the program, I had to be having a conversation on giving a second chance to school dropouts, and that is what we are about to do right this very moment. I am joined in studio by Professor Lombo Simba. He is the author of the Adult Education in Kenya, Second Chance for School Dropouts book, which I have with me right here. We'll look at it later on. And then I'm also joined by Salome Terra, and she is the County Director, Adult and Continuing Education. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. Now, if we may just begin with you telling us what exactly adult learning is. When we talk about adult learning, what are we talking about, Prof?
Okay, adult learning is broad. It's defined as anybody going to school after 21. That's an adult. And therefore, that person cannot be treated like a kid, the way we treat young people. So we encourage anybody who is in charge or teaching adults to be aware that you're not just teaching kids. So adult learning is going to school after 21. I would define it that way. I don't know whether my colleague would add to that.
Yes. Feel free.
To me, adult learning is lifelong learning. In life, there is no time you can say you've learned everything. So every time, every moment is a learning moment. So anybody who is 18 years and above, that is adult learning.
Yeah.
But coming to the other side also, there is the component of adult education. And adult education is different from adult learning. I don't know if you'd like me to delve into adult education.
Yes, please, because I actually had a question on the difference between adult learning and adult literacy.
Okay.
Adult literacy is just one package of adult education. Adult education is a full-fledged directorate in the Ministry of Education, which offers various packages to adult learners. And when we talk about adults, we are talking about learners who are 18 years and above and did not get a chance to go through the formal school, or they dropped out of school. And also in our contest, the Kenyan culture, there are some problems or challenges faced by communities, and it declares one to become an adult depending on the responsibilities given. So when we talk about adult education, we are talking about one package is providing the 3 R's, that's reading, writing, and numeracy, where this adult has never been to class, just needs basic skills to operate. After that, we have the post-literacy, where we are now enhancing the skills acquired at first level of basic literacy. And then after that, we have the continuing education. The continuing education package now deals with having these learners getting into class, and they're using the formal school curriculum, where they are provided with in the past, it has been KCP, so KCP now is over. Then from KCP, after you do your KCP, you now follow the formal channel and do up to Form 4 and proceed.
Yeah.
Now that is what we are offering in Kenya as adult education. The community empowerment program, where you get things like agriculture, health, civics education, all manner of education, what an adult requires to learn for the purpose of managing their life. That is now community empowerment package.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there's something I'm sure most of us have heard of, that is Gumbaru.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're still defining adult literacy and adult education.
Yeah.
So we used to have a word, there's a word which is Gumbaru.
Yes, Gumbaru.
And going to adult literacy, what is literacy? Literacy is the basics. It is not only learning. I have a granddaughter, and I'm teaching her financial literacy. And my wife is learning digital literacy. So if one does not know how to use computers, you need the basics of computers. If you don't know how to read the way Madam Salome said, then you need basics of reading. Now, when adult education or adult literacy was introduced, it was given the name Gumbaru.
Yeah.
And Gumbaru became demonized. That anybody who is going to school, to an adult school, then that person is doing Gumbaru education. Of course, it was supposed, literacy was supposed to be maybe up to standard 3. And then after that, one gets into the main education stream, whereby they would be preparing in the old system for KCPE. Yep.
Maybe just to add on that, that reminds me, under our community empowerment, we have multiple literacies. Right now, majority of Kenyans are illiterate about CBC. So they need to be taught how to go about CBC. Majority of Kenyans don't know how to use even their mobile phones. It's just something to do with receiving money and making calls. Yet there's a lot that you can do on that mobile phone. So under the component of multiple literacies, now we have a digital literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, all manner of education. Yeah.
Okay. We now have gotten, to understand, what exactly we talk about when you're talking about adult learning, which was very important for this conversation because that is where our base is on. So what is the importance of adult learning? Why are we pushing so much for it?
I would say, first and foremost, education is a human right. And there is no way you'll operate in the current world if you are not having basic skills on how to go about. True. If you are unable to even administer drugs to your baby, that you do, once the doctor writes 2 times 1, it means you give this child 2 tablets or 2 teaspoonfuls, if it's indicated, if it's liquid, once a day. But you find if somebody doesn't have just that common basic common knowledge that it's 2 times, you'll find that it's given 2 and again 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. So you've done something wrong. So there are many other things. For example, we are now getting into money matters. Financial literacy. Adult education is important, even for civics. Civic education. How do we vote? How do we go about our life? There are many policies. We are talking about the country has a constitution that allows us to have public participation. These people who have to participate and make informed decisions about their lives need a certain level of education. This policy that is being brought on the ground, can we question it? Is it going to be beneficial to us? How are we supposed to help the government attain what it wants to attain? Goal? The SDG goal 4.4. So adult education is very important because we are the wealth creators and the wealth of the wealth. If we don't have that adult education, then we are going to let the country go into drains. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may just give a bit of statistics. Now, research rather shows that 1/3 of secondary school learners do not complete their secondary school education. And according to a report by UNESCO, close to 35% of Kenyan secondary school students will not complete secondary education by the year 2030. 35% is a huge number. What maybe could be the reasons and factors that contribute to us having such a huge number of school dropouts, and not just school dropouts, but secondary school dropouts in general?
Yeah, there are many reasons. Some could be even cultural. Cultural in the sense that some young girls are being given into marriage when they are still in school. Others could be poverty, and that's a major contributing factor in school dropout. And then the other one would be just a kid does not get enough motivation to go to school from the family, or discouragement from school, and the reasons could be in other places where there is mining, kids think that they can get into mining business or do some business and make quick money, only later to realize that it is not possible, and then they realize they may want to go back to school, but the chance closed when they left school. So the reasons are many.
Yeah. Madam Salome, maybe according to you, where do you think we're going wrong as a country to have such, such a huge number of secondary school dropouts?
Before I even belabor to answer that, a third not completing. Those ones who are in the system. What about those who dropped out before they even joined the system? They joined and dropped out along the way. We're talking about 35% right now, will not complete by 2030. Can we go back to that cohort that started class 1? How many reached that level of high school? How many dropped out? All those ones are outside there.
Oh, yeah,
they are clients
for this
of adult
they've
education.
accounted for the ones who started Form 1 but did not get to finish
Yes,
Form 4.
but there are those who started class 1
Yeah.
and never made it to secondary. Where are they? Now, we are asking ourselves what went wrong. There are very many ills that developing countries are going through. Poverty being one of them, culture, disease. The three enemies we identified at independence are still with us. We have never solved them. And as long as we have not solved them, they'll still come and ail us. And those enemies are the ones that are putting our children into very serious disparate situations. Now we have peer pressure, drug and alcohol abuse, the ills in the internet where they're trying to dub the Western world. All those are bringing problems to these children, to the youth, and they are dropping out. And there is no education system in the world that does not have dropouts. Even at university level in Kenya, we have dropouts.
Yeah, sure.
And it's tied to very many factors, be it peer pressure, be it poverty, be it health issues, be it... there are so many ills ailing the African societies. Yeah.
Before we get into the conversation of how we sort these dropouts out, maybe what should be done to reduce this number of dropouts?
Asked about what should be done, first and foremost, our education system is very rigid. To the point that today, if I went to school, for example, I'm supposed to be in class by 8, so I should be in school. Let us take a village school. I should be in school by around 7-something to around 7:30. I should be in that school. Nobody bothers where I come from, what I am going through, but they expect me to be in school. So when I arrive late, I'm beaten. If you beat me 2 or 3 times, what makes you think I'll come tomorrow? I'll not be able to come tomorrow. So those are some of the things that we need to look into. And we need to look into so keenly. What is it with the education system? And then I try and make a point, and I go back to school, and maybe I've repeated. If I repeat one class, I'm laughed at. If I'm in that school because my parents took me to school at a later age, I'm beyond the age. Ninaitwa mama wa shule. Are you seeing the things I'm grappling with? And those are the realities that we need to, let us not hide ourselves. Those are realities that we are facing, and I think we have to look at various factors to solve these problems. Because they are here with us.
Okay, now those who are out here with us in the community, they didn't get to finish their secondary school education because of all the reasons that Prof. you've mentioned, and Salome as well. I want to give a scenario of there's this young girl, she's in Form 2, brilliant mind, you know, is in a national school actually, but gets pregnant, you know, and then she leaves school, of course, to go give birth, and then does not go back to school. So what happens to this girl afterwards? Because this is now where you're coming in, because you're talking about a second chance.
That's where we're coming in. The education system in Kenya has been very rigid, and it has been one-way focus. We don't look at the ones who fall by the wayside. We tell them, pole sana, sisi tunaendelea. And you see that in the Ministry of Education, the Adult Education Department is just kind of put at a corner, and really nobody talks much about it. So this girl may want to go back to school, but where does she go back to school? She looks at the situation and she wants to go back to her nearby secondary school. At this time, she has 2 children. Our education system is so interesting that our education planners can allow a mama to sit in a classroom with young kids, and they expect that mama to learn. I would have a big problem with that, because this mama knows more than these kids. They are not their peers. They cannot play together. And I think we can even bring the interesting example of this Ozima Ruge. A 3-year-old man who wanted to go back to school. And the system, our education system, has no way for such a man to go back to school apart from telling him, okay, go to standard 1.
Yeah, go join those
kids. Yeah. And really, I would challenge the education planners and say it is wrong. It is not right for you to put an older person in the class. I'll give you an example. There are methods of teaching kids. When I trained as a teacher, I learned that you use teaching methods according to the ages of the children. Suppose I want to teach numbers, because out there in the village, we were drawing on the ground. We call it on the dirt in America. You draw a big square, and in that square, you put other 10 squares inside. And then you write number 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. And then what you are doing is, these are standard 1 kids. They want to play and learn. The methods of teaching standard 1 kids is, okay, can you jump to number 6? And the kid jumps to where the square of number 6. Can you jump to number 4? Then the square number 4. What about when you tell an older man?
You cannot use that same method.
No, because that's to the kids, that is play. To the older person, who knew Toto?
Exactly. A better word.
Yes.
For lack of a better word.
Yes.
It's true, yeah. One thing I would observe is the ministry has tried to come up with it has a policy on re-entry where it's taking care of those who have dropped out to get back to school. So far, they're using the policy, but we know when something is new, it has its challenges. Yes, we may enforce and say from where we are seated in the office, make sure these children get back to school, make sure this and this is done. I want to look at somebody who dropped out of high school. He talked of a girl. I also love the boy child who is always left out. The boy child decided to do, and now you want this boy child re-entered in school. You know, that it needs treatment. So this boy, when he is using this re-entry policy back to school, the teachers may not be able to handle this. Looking at the age of that boy, what are we talking about? And then there is the naming system. The naming system is a number. It gives a student a number, and this number allows this student to go through the education system, let's say from level 1 up to the final level. If this boy is coming back after that, the cohort that had that level have left, what are we talking about? Are you not seeing there's still some hiccups? I know as policy makers look into it, there are challenges that they are facing, and it's the teachers who should bring these challenges out so that we see how to address this problem effectively. And when we are saying that this person has re-entered school, that they are getting that conducive environment to learn. Something I cannot talk about because I'm not in the formal school. I can only talk about those who have come back to adult education as adult continuing education. And something maybe we'll have, if I'm given permission, I can tell you, for real, it's a big challenge. They are coming back. They dropped out because of problems, but they are coming back using the same facilities of the primary school, sometimes even the ECD classes, which are not conducive for them. They are being told to pay school fees, following the same curriculum, which is so rigorous for them. Now there is no more KCP. I don't know what is going to happen to them that never did KCP. We are still waiting to get a directive. What do we do? Like on my table, I have so many questions. We have these learners, they did not take KCP, but they were in our classes. What are we supposed to do with them? I don't have anything I can tell them because I've not been told what should I do with these learners. Do we have any assessment for them? I don't have. And then you look at the ones who are coming in at secondary level. Yes, we are taking them through the 844 curriculum right now, the high school curriculum. But we are asking ourselves, after 2027, what will happen to those others who will be coming in? Thank you.
Right. And on that note, we'll take a short break, but don't you go too far. We'll be back in a bit to continue with this conversation.
Mswahili anakuambia umbwa wa msasi mkali ni wakali pia. Hivi inamaanisha kwamba wamekwisha nolewa na sasa kinolewacho hupata. Je, watakupa kitu gani?
Mwalimu ni mwangaza, kwani gizani huzagaa. Kweli walimu wetu hawana mfanano.
Vijana wengi wanapoingia katika mitandao na kupata mila na desturi tofauti kutoka nchi za ng'ambo, wanaigiza mila hizo pasi na kwamba mila hizo ni kinyume na mila na desturi zao.
Hatari zaidi ni kuwa picha hizo usambaa na kupatikana kwa urahisi, hivyo na kuwafikia vijana.
Ilahi twaanza kwa jina lake waduri, kisha swala na salamu.
Mwalimu, when we are learning with the symbols.
These are equations.
Teachers, you said now they were not letters and they were symbols. Now they are not symbols, now they are questions.
Start explaining right now.
I can explain. What is wrong with you, Fal?
Why did you not disclose that you have Solomon's phone? Do you have anything to do with his demise?
Atito, are you going to pay for me? I will refund.
Sakias, learn to be your own man. This meow 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 has to stop. You are not a kitten.
Well, Mrume, atimdem. Well, tulimalizana na wewe kinyanjui tafadhali, stop what you're cooking.
All right, and we are back. Thank you for staying with us. Now, I just want to pick on what Salome, you were talking about, and I want to pose a question to you, Prof, in line with that, where you were talking about, like, the systems are not really right, you know, for adults who want to go back to school. And for example, they had not done their KCPE exams, they had not done their KCSE exams. So do you mean to say that there are no institutions at all who can accommodate such? Do you mean to say that there are no systems put in place for that at the moment in the country?
According to my research, and I did a very comprehensive research on second chance for school dropouts in Kenya, I found that the systems were not there. It's only people's initiative that are trying to put somebody, operate a school and they're calling it adult education or adult education school, but using,
it's actually, you can just show
the book
them.
is a second chance for school dropouts. It's part of my research. And they use that, the schools, to teach the curriculum for kids. I mean the high school or primary school. And there's a big difference, as I mentioned earlier, that there's a difference between teaching an adult and teaching a kid, a young person. So I would say there has been no real system which has a good pathway to have people who drop out of school could come back and go to school. And this has happened for many years. During my time, I trained as a primary school teacher, a P1, and they told me if I want to go to university, I have to go back and do the Form 6 exam, and they disregarded my 2-year training as a school teacher. I have to go and take Form 6 exam and then qualify to go to university. That is not right. So what did I do? I had to look for systems or other places which have good systems which can allow somebody like me to go back to school. And I had to use American system who opened the door for me to do my bachelor's. And then from that, I was able to go ahead and do the other studies. Just while we are there, my wife, and I have her permission, because she allowed me to put it in this book. So if it's in this book, it is public knowledge. My wife dropped from school in Form 2. That's far, isn't it? So how would such a person get a second chance? Fortunately, those days they were training nurses and they were looking for anybody who has been to high school. They don't care whether you're finished high school or not, completed. So although she had failed in Form 2, they put her into a nursing school, and she became a nurse. Then she realized that she could go for a counseling course, a diploma, 2 years. But interestingly, a university, I'm not going to name them, I don't want to shame any university, and it's not them. When she wanted to go back to study a degree, to do a degree, they said, no, where's your Form 4 certificate? Now, look at this. Somebody has gotten a diploma, and we know what a diploma is in this country, and from a university. If I get a diploma from University of Nairobi, then it means it is credible, isn't it?
Yeah,
but they say, no, we want your Form 4 certificate. And I told my wife, okay, you're going to beat them in their own game. And what did I do? I wrote a letter asking them, which is higher, your Form 4 certificate or your diploma, which you have given to me? That was my wife writing. Then I wrote that and I gave her to sign. She signed, and of course it was challenging them. The registrar called her, and she went and did a course, a BA in psychology, completed with good grades, 3.4. Then, now, she's gotten into education stream. So we go to America, and in December last year, she graduated with a master's in clinical social work. Not many people are going to have those chances. Majority of them are going to be on the or to fall on the wayside.
Yeah, and oftentimes in the country, unfortunately, Form 4 or secondary school dropouts are seen as failures.
Yes.
But from the story you've just told, if given a chance, they can still amount to something, and people who would be of help to the community as well. Maybe to you, Salome, as the County Director for Adult and Continuing Education in the country, how are we aligning these adult learners, to gain access to vocational training institutions or even higher learning education in general?
Just to observe, necessity is the mother of invention. When you're faced with challenges, you try to knock this door and you're being told for you to enter, you must have this type of key. You have to look for a way. So in adult education, somewhere in the late 99 to around 2000, we began the issue of offering primary education to our adult learners, because some of them were watchmen and they're being told, for you to work with us, we need to see your KCP certificate. So we started offering continuing education at primary level for these people, and we had various have gone through that until they closed KCP last year. People managed to go through that, and when an adult was able to go through the formal school, maybe 2-3 years, and do KCP, it motivated them now to go for the secondary, where we have now the continuing education secondary, which is still ongoing. In the continuing education secondary, like in Nairobi, we have private and public. For the public, I have 13 teachers in the whole of Nairobi County. We have an adult public secondary at Pangani Primary School. They're using the primary school facilities that have been that are dilapidated. We are always given those facilities that are dilapidated. And if we happen to get a better facility in any primary school, we are told to pay rent. So these adult learners pay a little money, they are charged some fees. And you see, like that center only has 6 teachers. There are very many centers of that type in this county. We have one in Makadara, Our Lady of Visitation, which has only 3 teachers, and the 3 teachers are not able to handle all the subject areas. So it means we have to bring on board other teachers. In the whole country, we have only 100 who are employed by the government. And therefore, private providers are coming in. Go to Eastleigh, there is very good work going on. We have various other youths and others learning secondary. Go to Starehe, just in town here, we have private providers who have these centers providing tuition and evening classes to these adult learners who are either working or they have been told you cannot get a promotion unless you have this level of certificate. So, but we are using the formal system. They are doing the same KCSE, they register the same way the secondary school students. So we can't really say that it's our system, but we had to come up with a way, because earlier on we had worked on a curriculum with the KICD, ABET 1. ABET 1 is up to, let's say, level 4. Then ABET 2 is from level 4 to around class 8, class 6. Then ABET 3 was from level, it was catering for 7 and 8. And from that level now, NEC was supposed to have these exams or assessments for these learners. It never took up. It never took off.
That curriculum?
I mean, it never took off. There are only a few copies. We only deal with ABET 1 is what we are delivering. Meaning something somewhere. You know, even our directorate has been moving from one ministry to the other until 2008 when we were taken to the Ministry of Education. But now we have not been accorded that proper curriculum to be followed. So even our curriculum now is outdated. It's over 10 years. And you know, the cycle of our curriculum is 10 years. It should have been reviewed. So we are still now, our curriculum is that of ABET 1. This ABET 2 and ABET 3 was never piloted. It was never tested. We even had the post-literacy curriculum, which is supposed to cater for these ones after they have learned the 3 R's. It was piloted in very few sub-counties. It was a project by GT, said it ended there. It never took off, and the curriculum is there. It needs a review. So you can see we don't have our own clear pathway. Even in the CBC, we have now been put in the structure, but we don't even have that clear curriculum. But we are believing the review that will be coming, we need to get what should be done. We need to get things right. If we don't get things right,
Prof, you seem to have something.
Yes, I'm looking at where we are, and there are many people we are losing on the way in our education system. And we're saying it cannot just be pushed at the corner. So, when I was doing my research on second chance, I found that every country, and I did a global survey of what happens in South Africa, in UK, in Switzerland, in Korea. I did a whole survey and found that there's always a policy on how one can go back to school. So we are looking at a situation whereby we can delink adult learners from the normal, regular primary and secondary education and have something different. So I'm saying I have a way. During my studies, I saw that there could be a way, and I would be happy to share with the ministry, and I'm glad that Madam Salome is here. I would be happy to say this is a way to help our people. That's why I did all this research, because a lot of people are just being left, and we tell them that they cannot make it, they are losers, but they can be directed and become useful members of the society.
I agree with you. Maybe Madam Salome, what is hindering us from having such programs in the country?
You know, everything in this country starts at the policy level. What does this policy spell out? If you look at our policy in adult education, it was done in 2010. How many years down the line?
14.
It has been overtaken by events. It needs a review. And I'm glad he says he has a way. If you have a solution, Professor, I would love us, because I love those people who come up and say, I have a solution, not to keep asking me, this is the problem, how do we solve it? And I wouldn't mind. I am even aware the president likes people who come, we have identified this is the problem and this is the solution. So if this gentleman is brought on board, when we'll be carrying out the review of the curriculum and that, we would love to have a solution to this menace that has existed since 1979 when we were decreed, because the type of illiterates I'm dealing with, they're not the ones that were identified as independent, meaning there's some gap the policy that has not addressed. So if that is addressed, and we have, because in adult education the policy says it's a shared responsibility. If we could have like minds like him plus others who are outside there to come and help us walk this path and solve this problem once and for all, then I'll be happy. But I believe our problem comes at policy, funding, and once those two are not handled, then we are not able, because looking at our statistics, we are not doing well. In 1979, when we started, we had 3,000 full-time instructors. We don't call them teachers, because in adult education you cannot teach an adult. You only facilitate this person to acquire more knowledge and move on. Right now we are doing very bad. We have 864 in the whole country, and as I'm talking, even maybe some have retired between last month and now. The figures may be very low, and out of the 864, 100 are those teachers who, just formal school teachers who are handling the continuing education program. So if they are still using, they are not CBC teachers, they have not been retooled, they are using the old system method. So what does that tell you? Looking even at the officers, we have remained very few. So there is a lot that needs to be done. And if we can handle this problem once and for all, and just say within 10 years, we should have seen the results within maybe the next 3 years, if we review and start, let's say, next year, let them measure our achievements year by year, and we should tell them in the next 5 years we should be here, and in the next 10 years this problem of having re-entry and or having this problem of dropouts in this country should be a history. Because I was looking at his book yesterday night when I interacted with it. What is happening in Britain is beautiful. What is happening in Korea is beautiful. Why is it that we are being left out? And when, like now in the CBC, we don't have the structure is there, but we haven't started implementing. Sisi tumekaa huko adult, tumekaa kwa bench naendelea na basic literacy, and that is not what our learners want. They are going ahead. When they reach the end is when they'll start coming for us. What will have happened to these dropouts on the way? Because they have dropouts who are coming this side. So the faster we do it, the better.
Yeah, and while on that, the problem is also the methodology. I think we need to mention that. When teachers go to school, they are taught to teach young children. There's a word which is called pedagogy. Pedagogy is a word from pediatrics. It's a word which means teaching children. And Vivian, maybe you have gone to school, even in college or university, and you have seen a professor or a lecturer treating you like a kid. I don't know whether that has been your experience. It was my experience. Because the training we have in this country, it trains teachers only up to teach secondary schools, and those are children, and therefore they use pedagogy. Now, when you're teaching adults, you're teaching a different person, and the word for it is andragogy. Andragogy means that these are adults who come to your class by choice. They are not there because you push them.
Yeah.
They are there by choice, and we don't even need to motivate them because they are self-directed. Therefore, even the instructors we are having in these learning centers, they have not been trained to teach adults. And therefore, instead of us getting good results, some of them realize, oh, when I was doing my research, I sat in a classroom, some of those classrooms, and a teacher found student was having a phone. You don't know what is happening with this student. Maybe her kid is sick, and stand up so-and-so, walk out, go out, you know.
You can't treat them the same way
No,
you treat the
no,
young
you don't.
learners.
Yeah, but that is just some of the problems we are having, and we're saying when we delink adult education from the main high school, primary and high school system, then we can come up with training. And even in this book, I've given examples of how to teach such people.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you may allow me to allow you to give your final remarks in the shortest of words possible.
Thank you very much. One thing I would like to observe, it is true, we have to accept where we have failed. And my desire is that let us do things straight. History will judge us. Let us have a system or a mechanism in place or a pathway to cater for the dropouts, because if we don't, there are so many, there are even more than the learned. Because dropping out even if you drop out at university and you've not finished, in future when you reach a point and you cannot do 1, 2, 3, you're still a dropout. If we can address this wholesomely during this review and during this time we are having educational system being changed, then we shall be doing justice. We need to bring everybody on board and even have the feel of the very affected, the dropouts, to tell us how they want us to go about it. And if that is done, then justice will be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Solomon.
Mine is just to talk to the policymakers in this country. It is good to be holistic and address all the different sectors we have in education. And therefore, it means that once the policymakers look at school dropouts and ask themselves, how can we mitigate for this without trying to patch? What we have been doing is patching the problem. We need to have a proper overhaul, a departure, whereby we don't have to keep on changing even when the school systems change. When I was doing my research, I realized that some countries, they put their adult or second chance for their school dropouts in one place, and although the curriculum in the other systems are changing, this continues because it has been linked. There could be some adjustments on the curriculum, but what I'm saying is, yes, let's have a policy which addresses adult learners or gives people a second chance after they drop out of school. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Madam Saloma. Thank you so much, Professor Lombo, for gracing our show today. We really appreciate that you are big on this conversation. Now, this is where we call it a wrap. And if I may just say what I've picked from this conversation, no one should be written off. Everyone deserves a second chance. And this may simply mean a second chance at education to allow you to have that second chance at life. My name is Vivian Ndegwa. Until next time, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye.